So I'd like to call this meeting to order pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Laws 30, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the North Reading School Committee is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure the public can adequately address the proceedings as provided for in the order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to this meeting while in progress may do so through the instructions that have been posted on our website and posted on the town site as well. So should we take attendance at the meeting to start?
Sure.
So, Mr. Scott Buckley?
Here, present.
Mr. Rich McGowan?
Present.
Mr. Chris Papavasilio?
Here.
Ms. Diana Boutwell?
Here.
And Ms. Janine Embriano?
Here.
Oh. So should I introduce the first item for school committee reorganization?
Yeah. I entertain a motion on the first one.
So I'll entertain a motion on the reorganization for nomination of the chair of the committee.
I move that the committee vote to elect Scott Buckley as the chair for the upcoming year.
Second. You sure you want that responsibility?
All right.
Do it again.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Should I do a roll call or?
Yeah, I was probably.
Yeah, so all in favor, Ms. Boutwell?
Aye.
Ms. Embriano?
Aye.
Mr. Buckley?
Aye.
Mr. McGowan?
Aye.
Mr. Papavasilio?
Aye.
Ayes have it. Mr. Buckley?
Congratulations. Thank you very much. Thank you, and congratulations, Mr. McGowan and Mr. Boutwell for their election to another term. So, we wanted to continue on elected offices quickly, and then come back to that. Why don't we just do that quickly? So, I'll entertain a nomination for vice chair. Anybody interested? McGowan, are you interested again, maybe?
I nominate Rich McGowan to continue as vice chair for the upcoming year.
Second.
Discussion? Anybody? Any other nominations?
Going to be a coup.
Okay. We'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Boutwell.
Aye.
Mr. Adriano.
Aye.
Papavasilio.
Aye.
I'll be an aye, and I'll let Rich go last. Rich?
Aye.
Okay, passes 5-0. Okay, secretary. Maybe interested? Anybody want to nominate?
I nominate Janine Embriano as secretary.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Another roll call vote. Chris?
Aye.
Diana?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Janine?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Legislative representative? Boutwell is interested.
I nominate Diana Boutwell as legislative representative.
Now, second.
Okay. Discussion? Chris?
Aye.
Janine?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Diana?
Aye.
5-0. Thank you very much. We have our officers. Okay, thank you everybody for attending. I'm going to do that quickly. We'll start with public input, and if there's anybody that has anything they would like to discuss that is not on the agenda for this evening, please unmute or type in the chat. Okay, I'm not seeing any right now. We move on to our student report. We have Gianna, always screw up your name, Malavo, for a student report. Gianna, are you here?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Mr. Buckley. For today's student report, I want to start off talking a little bit about MCAS. MCAS has happened these past 2 weeks, and as we know, it was optional for juniors, and they will have the opportunity to take it again in the fall. And today, during the first 3 blocks of the day, the sophomores also took it, and from what I've heard, it went pretty well. AP exams are also big on the agenda. They're coming up in terms of the fine arts. Every man did stream this past weekend. Um, edited by a
Do you ever try to call?
Yeah, Gianna, I think we're having trouble hearing you. I think there's a delay on your internet. You're frozen right now.
actor.
Okay, do you want to try turning off your video?
Be allowed in the back, but no side.
Gianna, could you try turning off your video feed? Because you're breaking up on us.
There's start and been very lucky to have a great season.
You can hear me right there.
Okay, cool. Where was I? The spring sports season has started, and we have been lucky to have a good season so far in terms of we've been getting wins in softball, tennis, lacrosse, track, and baseball for both boys and girls. And there have been high school students included in the transcript as well this week. Alex Carpenter actually set a new PR at one of the track meets 2 weeks ago for pole vault. Madison Vant was also in transcript, Tip McCarthy, Sal Shell, and Shay Hansen. So congratulations to them. Some more stuff going on at North Reading High School includes elections have started, lots of opportunities for student leadership in terms of class officers, student council, and clubs across the board. Social Activism Club will be hosting a speaker next week, actually tomorrow. Councilmember Sokari Chow will be speaking on Asian American and Pacific Islander, just life as a councilman and falling into that category. SLAM will be introducing new leaders and mentors this week, and National Honor Society recently released its newest members. And then the last thing I want to talk about is AP exams, because I know I talked a little bit about it earlier, but it's been a big topic this week because of how close they're getting, and it's going to be a little bit of a different process this year, especially with so many students taking it remotely from home, because some exams are going to be hosted in school, but most of them will be at home. So the preparation for that has been much different. We've been doing reviews, mostly student-led, which has been a nice way to like outlet yourself as a student to be more independent. And overall, I would turn on my camera, but you probably won't be able to hear me. But I have packets here that I wanted to show you, but that's okay. And that's all I have for today, unless anybody has any questions.
Is there any questions or comments? No, I don't think so. Thank you very much, Gianna.
Thank you.
Good job. Thank you very much.
Okay, we're going to jump around a little bit. We're going to go to the guests that we have here. I see a bunch of people from the little school here, so we welcome them. Sorry that we can't be there in attendance to see you in person, but we'll introduce the wonderful principal, Mrs. Molly. Mrs. Molly,
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
we can.
So good evening and welcome to the little school, even though it's not really the little school. Imagine it's been 2 years since the last time you were there visiting with us. Before we get started, I just wanted to take a moment to reach out to Diana and Rich and congratulate them on the recent election and to tell you how happy I am to have you both back with us. So congratulations.
Thank you.
So where to begin? This year was certainly a challenge. Truth be told, I haven't even had the time to reflect on the past 14 months. I do know this. It certainly does take a village to educate a child, contrary to what you might have heard recently. Thank you to the school committee and our district administration, and most especially Dr. Daly and Mike Connolly, for always supporting the schools and whatever needs we had this year and every year, really. Much has been said about our faculty and staff, and most definitely our nurses. Every ounce of accolades they've received have been well-deserved, and I want to publicly acknowledge their hard work and dedication to the children of North Reading. I also want to give a shout out to the building principals. We were met with daunting challenges along the way, and I appreciate their collaboration, their professionalism, their respect, and their friendship. We were able to navigate through this unusual year by leaning on and learning from each other. Everyone I just mentioned rose to the challenges of this year, and in my opinion, I think we all succeeded. Even when we felt like we were at our wit's end, we all persevered and got the job done. It was pretty amazing to watch firsthand the transformation of teaching with previously unfamiliar technology and our students' ability to learn remotely. The kids were fantastic. Never once did I hear complaining about the masks or social distancing or the fact that the playground was closed. They just went with the flow, and after reading some of the comments in this year's yearbook, I was blown away by how thankful they all are to be back in school. Our village just didn't include the administration, the faculty, the staff, and the nurses. Our village includes so many more people. The bus drivers, our bus coordinator, Rosalie, the food service personnel, the custodians, the parents, and most especially our students. This village worked together to make the best of an unimaginable situation. Keeping the focus on what was best for the kids gave us all the guidance we needed to ensure that we were doing all we could and were doing the best we could for them. I have never been prouder to be a member of the North Reading Public Schools than I am right now and after this year. So with that being said, I'd like to introduce our faculty and children that'll be joining us tonight. Just keep in mind, classroom projects looked a little bit different this year. The opportunity for group work was a challenge since we needed to ensure that the children remained socially distanced throughout their day. However, the teachers collaborated and planned opportunities and activities to keep the spark of learning alive. Tonight, you will see a sampling of 2 such projects. Mrs. Kelly, our digital learning specialist, along with Ms. McCarthy from the 3rd grade and Mrs. Reed from 5th grade, along with some of our absolutely amazing children, will be presenting some of their impressive work. I hope you enjoy the presentation this evening. Mrs. Kelly?
Hi, thank you, Mrs. Molly. I'm going to go ahead and present now. Although this year has presented many challenges, there really are some silver linings. Teachers have excelled at using technology. They have mastered online learning and have found ways to use technology to differentiate instruction for their students. They have curated materials that they can now use moving forward. In addition, they have become more proficient in integrating technology in their lessons, and they have continued to do so even with the students back in school.
Inventor Research, Digital Learning, 3 McCarthy.
And I'd like to introduce Mrs. McCarthy.
Good evening. My name is Kelly McCarthy, and I'm a 3rd grade teacher at the little school here in North Reading. As Mrs. Molly and Mrs. Kelly mentioned, this year has been anything but traditional. When planning my lessons this year, I tried to think of how I could make them more interactive and engaging, where students could complete it not only on paper, but also digitally for the sake of our hybrid learning model. The writing piece of this project that the students did touched on the standards displayed here while focusing on the writing process that students learn to use in 3rd grade. This process includes brainstorming, drafting, editing, and publishing. The students worked so hard and really enjoyed the writing piece as well as the digital publication aspect. I'm so proud of them, and I know my 2 students here tonight cannot wait to share their creations with you all.
In addition to the literacy standards, we covered digital literacy standards as well. The strand of computer science standards has students using a variety of digital tools, collaborating with their peers, and being able to conduct research. The projects were completed in digital literacy, and they address standards on a regular basis. I'd like to introduce Edan and Jackson.
Hi, my name is Edan in Miss McCarthy's 3rd grade class. I want to tell you about a project that we did in my class this year. In digital learning, Mrs. Kelly had us learn about different type of inventions and the people that created them. We got to choose one inventor to research more about. We did our research using a database. Databases are places for organized information. In school, we use databases such as PebbleGo and WorldBook. Using a database is better than just using Google because we know that the information is true and has been checked. After we did our research, we wrote about our inventors with Miss McCarthy. We used our research to write articles about our inventor. We began the writing process by filling in a note catcher while researching. After that, we created our rough drafts and edited them. Finally, we typed our final drafts on Google Classroom.
Hi, my name is Jackson Maybor in Miss McCarthy's 3rd grade class. In digital learning, we turned our writing into newspaper articles using Google Docs. We learned how to include pictures and captions. The last part of our project was making a chat of pics. We found pictures of our inventors and made the pictures talk. I hope you enjoy seeing our projects. The first one is mine.
I was known for inventing the light bulb. I was born in Ohio in 1847. I tried to find answers to my questions. I read science books, did experiments, and made new inventions. When I was 12, I sold food and newspapers on a train. I set up a small lab in a train car. I learned how to send and receive telegraph messages. My biggest contribution was the light bulb. I also made a phonograph, a new and improved bigger lab, a movie camera. To Menlo Park in New Jersey. People started calling me the Wizard of Menlo Park. I became one of the greatest American inventors. My invention of the light bulb was the key to light inside without windows. I am Thomas Edison.
Great.
I was known for inventing the light bulb. I was born
And this is my classmates' project on Wallace Amos.
My biggest contribution to our world is my baked goods. Without the help from my aunt, I would not be the successful baker I am today. She played a major role in teaching me how to bake and run a business. The brand Famous Amos is still around today, and everyone enjoys it very much. My biggest
That is our 3rd grade project, and now I'd like to introduce Mrs. Kate Reed.
You're muted.
Oh boy. All right, let's try this again. Hi, I'm Kate Reed and I teach 5th grade here at the Little School. When Mrs. Kelly approached me about doing a cross-curricular opinion writing digital learning project, I thought it sounded like a great idea. It provided an opportunity for students not only to be creative in their design of the sneaker, but to employ what we have been learning in empowering writers to become stronger writers and achieve the state standards. Opinion writing teaches children the importance of providing reasons to support their ideas. When teaching expository writing, we stress the necessity of finding evidence to support facts. When teaching opinion writing, we stress the importance of providing reasons to support your thoughts and beliefs. This sneaker design opinion writing project was a motivational opportunity for the students to further develop this skill. This can only be helpful as students prepare to become future political leaders, PR and marketing executives, lawyers, teachers, and responsible members of their community. Just listen to Hannah's presentation to see what I mean.
We used Google Drawings to create our designs. And Google Drawings is a free application that's part of the G Suite of tools, and students can use it to create images, charts, and diagrams. We began by looking at careers in technology, specifically sneaker designers. And the students learned how to use Google Drawings to outline an image and replace colors. And I'd like to introduce Hannah.
Hi, I'm Hannah Frew in Mrs. Kulkari's 5th grade class, and this is my sneaker project. Sneaker project was an idea by Mrs. Kelly for a 5th grade digital learning project. The challenge was to color a sneaker that will be the new Nike Air Force Ones. She provided us with a picture of the Nike Air Force Ones that we could fill in onto a Google drawing, and we wanted to make it our own. So we used any color we wanted. Before we started our sneaker, all of us watched a video of the process of the real sneakers being made to give us a general idea of what this was and a little inspiration to go along with it. I chose the colors to be yellow and blue with the idea of Minions on my mind. Also, where else can you get neon yellow and blue designer sneakers? Specially made for LeBron James with extra grip so he's not sliding on the court. And they're something that will help him stand out even more than he already does. Digital learning is a special that everyone really looks forward to, and the sneaker project was something that everyone had a lot of fun with.
We'd like to share with you some of our designs. I'm just changing my screen. If you have any questions for any of the teachers or the kids, we welcome them.
Question? McGowan?
Yeah, I would just say that, first of all, great job, everyone. I really want to learn more about Mr. Amos because I'm a big cookie aficionado myself. So I thought that was interesting, and I really like the sneaker design. And it was flashing by quick, but I saw the caption on it saying, "Mr. Curry, I think you should really buy this sneaker." I really appreciated that salesmanship. So great job, everybody. I don't have any questions, but that was a great job by everyone.
I just saw the sneakers, sorry, this is Janina Briano. The sneakers go by that have the chocolate chip cookie on it. I thought that was cute.
You should buy a pair, right?
Yeah, I should have a pair of chocolate chip sneakers for sure.
Right? You know, to the teachers, these were fantastic projects. I thought they really let the kids show some incredible creativity and great writing skills, and to the kids, like, wow. I was blown away by just how well polished you could put together these explanations of the inventors, and for the fifth graders, I think there might be a couple of future marketers, which I don't know if that's good for the world, but it's great to see that kind of skill coming through. Great job.
And I'll just add, this is Scott, I'll add a couple things. Number one, we're talking about what we're teaching our kids. I mean, there's a little bit too much mention of LeBron James in there for me, but, you know, other than that, I mean, the shoes were great. And just to the students, I think, what always amazes me in these presentations is how polished our students are in presenting. You know, I mean, these were third graders, you know, and Don and Jackson, and then a fifth grader and Hannah. I mean, you guys are so poised, you're so well spoken. I mean, a lot of people that I work with can't get on a Google Meet like this and speak as articulate and well as you guys did. So congratulations to you. My only question for everybody, I guess, here, I know a lot of this summer we'll be talking about what happened the last year and a half and what to keep and what to get rid of. But I'm really curious at the elementary level. Like, it was never our plan to have one-to-one devices for the elementary right away. But now we have that, and, you know, and at the school committee level, we've talked a lot about this, and we want to keep that going. But I guess I'm just curious, you know, going forward, I mean, what are your thoughts about that? I mean, how will that help change learning? I mean, obviously in elementary, we don't want our students on Chromebooks, you know, the whole day. But I mean, do you think it's a beneficial tool that we should continue to fund and keep available, or is it not something that's really needed going forward?
I think personally, if you look to the careers of the future, I mean, I think if we were to backpedal and take the Chromebooks away from the children, we would be doing them a disservice. And I know, you know, prior to us having one-to-ones, when we had just a few carts in the building, the teachers were constantly planning lessons to use the Chromebooks, and then they would go get the cart, and they would try to reserve the cart, and somebody else had it, and then they'd have to put their project off. So I think for so many reasons, and I mean, it's not just for projects, but it's for practice, it's for doing independent stuff at their desks. You know, I think it's very important that we keep it moving forward. And I appreciate that consideration. Helen?
I have to agree with you, Mrs. Molly. It's just been amazing to see the progress that kids and teachers have made in using technology, and the way it's being used. It's like I had said when I started my presentation, there's been some silver linings through all this, and the use of technology and how it's getting integrated, and how teachers are using technology to differentiate the instruction for students has been huge. And when they have their own devices and they're not needing to share, it makes a really big difference.
I think we've talked a lot about it through the budget season, and it's something that is a priority of ours. But it's just interesting to see how it'll play out. And it's funny because we've been doing these presentations at the elementary schools for a while, and, you know, before COVID, the makerspace people were always the stars of the show, and now it's all the digital learning people. So, you know, we have new stars at all the presentations these days. So, I appreciate everybody coming tonight. And any other final comments, thoughts? Dr. Daly?
I'll just say again, thank you to our students. What a wonderful job. You should be so proud. We're very proud of you. Great, great job. It's been great getting in your classrooms and getting to see some of you and then getting to see these projects play out. Ms. Kelly, great job with this as always. I really want you to teach me how to use the chat one. I think I might need that for my end of year address. We'll see. Miss Molly can help me with that one. And Miss Reed and Miss McCarthy, great job. So thank you, everyone.
And I'd like to thank the stars of the show, Jackson and Edan and Hannah. Thank you so much. You did a fabulous job. Excellent job. I'm so proud of all of you. I told you you were the chosen few for this time around, so you did a great job. And to Mrs. Reed and Miss McCarthy and Mrs. Kelly, thank you so much for all the hard work that you put into tonight's presentation. I really do appreciate it. So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All I can say is I want a budget webinar with Michael Connolly's face with the chatterbox. I think that should be the webinar next year. Okay, so we're going to move on. We have other guests here tonight, so we will start with my BC alum, fellow BC alum, Amy Lefkowitz is here. Talk about the core measurements presentation. So Amy.
Hi, everybody. If anything goes wonky on my end, please tell me to, and I'll shut off my camera as well. Hello, everybody, and hello, everybody watching through NORCAM. Mr. Buckley, next year when you do your reorg, I'm hoping that you add to your list of positions Mrs. Ambriano to be, again, the official representative of the school committee to the coalition, because she's been wonderful, and it's been great to have that consistency of representation. So thank you so much. I want to start off with that. And I'm here with good news, and that's really nice to have. I believe Dr. Daly has the presentation, or shall I do it, Dr. Daly?
Yeah, I got it here. I'm just going to put it up there.
Thank you.
Everyone?
Yeah, I will point out when we do the subcommittees, we do have the subcommittee coalition on there again.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So today, as we do every year, I report to you first the outcomes related to our core measurement. And for those of you who are not familiar with it, each year we collect information. Specifically, we're required to collect 4 questions about 4 substances. However, in North Reading, we actually collect those questions across 5 substances, because unlike the feds, we separate vaping out into its own individual substance, and that's because it has different effects and it has different behaviors. So we've been doing that for about 2 years now, and if you can believe it, we are in the last few months of our Drug-Free Communities grant that started 5 years ago. The school committee back then was very supportive of that, and you guys have continued to support that. We literally would not have had a successful application 5 years ago without your support. I just completed the application for our final 5 years. It is extremely competitive, so I'm going to ask all of you, whether you're or not, to cross your fingers for us, because from my understanding this year, they're going to award only 100 grants across the entire country. And for the first time ever, there was a question in there about need base, and that was not there before. So I'm a little concerned, but I think we have a great application, specifically in the areas of where we collaborate. I talked to I'm in a cohort of people who do my job across the nation, and I know that this is something that a lot of places struggle with. They don't talk to the schools, they don't talk to the police, and I'm happy to report that we have strong relationships across all required 12 sectors and beyond. So I'm thrilled about that. The one thing I will throw on this committee's radar is that moving into our next and final 5 years, we're hoping for more student participation and student representation in the coalition and hear their voices more. So today I am presenting you with the culmination of 5 years of data, and without spoiler alerts, it's good news. And I know a bunch of you have some handouts. So let me begin. If I can ask Dr. Daly to advance, thank you. This year, as we do every year, we go to you and we ask for your support on the digital version of the survey. And you gave that, so thank you. What I want to point out is that we had a pretty good response rate, although it was down from previous years, and that's something we'll continue to look at. And unfortunately, the 11th grade participation only had 2 participants, and so we're not able to include their information comparatively. You will see historical data presented by 11th grade, but not this year, because obviously 2 kids is not statistically valid for us. If you could move forward, please.
Amy, is there a reason for the 11th grade with only 2? Did it not go up?
I can address that. Yeah, it was this, you know, we tried to figure that. You got to remember, this was done during the hybrid learning and all that, and it was very challenging. So we really wanted to get both upper and lower high school, and so Mr. Hain and Mr. LaPrette targeted specifically 12th grade and used their Civ Gov class. There wasn't really the opportunity to do 11th in quite the same way, so these 2 students were probably folks that work closely with you, Ms. Lockwitz, I'd say, because they really, it wasn't that they refused, that the opportunity was created for the seniors. So.
And hopefully moving forward, we won't have that exclusion again. So I'm excited.
I'm hoping it's much better environment for this next year. Yes, exactly.
Certainly. And just to refresh everybody's memory, we tend to begin the process in February with our presentation to you, and the survey is administered between March and April every year. So before I dive into the data here, I just want to point out that you'll see 2018, 19, and 21. And that's for a couple of reasons. And the first I want to point out is that we did collect data in 2017. However, I cannot include that in comparative data because we took that data a different way. And I really want to stick with apples to apples as much as possible. Although I do have that information available if you're interested in it. We used a paper survey back then, if you can remember, and before we went all digital, and the response rate was far less. The other thing I want to point out is that you don't see 2020 information, and that's because, again, it was, oh my gosh, I think we were looking at it a month after COVID hit, and that response rate is not valid, so I don't even include it in this. But what I do want to show you is the down slope. And so what I'm excited to report is that alcohol in particular had a pretty significant jump from 2019 to 2021. Now, keep in mind, we obviously are going to look deeply into the causes of these declines. As you know, we use 7 strategies to combat all of these substances. However, with the reduction of peer-to-peer contact, we do think that had a significant impact in the decline of substance use in 2021. Go ahead. So interestingly here, we see something else though. In tobacco, we see a slight incline. Now, this is actually something that we were anticipating. If you recall my past presentations on vape use, across the nation, we are starting to see unfortunate trends going up related to traditional tobacco use being separate from vape use. And this is because we had more than ever in 2019, 2018, and 2020, a high number across the country of young people using vapes. As more and more laws came into play, and especially in Massachusetts, which is very ahead of the curve in terms of bylaws and restrictions around age-appropriate things and all that, we saw, unfortunately, students, young people become addicted to nicotine. And nationally, including the CDC, we anticipated a spike, a stronger spike than we saw, but a spike nonetheless in traditional tobacco use. As vape products became harder and harder to get, obviously that need for nicotine was going to not go away, and so we anticipated a spike in traditional tobacco use. We're hoping to combat that again. That was something that has not been on our radar for several years, but including across the nation, but I'm happy to report it's not as big of a spike as we thought. Marijuana has gone down as well. Thrilled about this, especially as we're starting to see an increase in the potency of marijuana and vapable marijuana. This is something I could spend hours on with you. Having case after case, as you know, I work in the police department, of marijuana-induced or THC-induced psychosis. This is scary. This is unpredictable, and oftentimes the person who is using does not remember what they're doing at the time. As we see the increase of potency, we are starting to see an increase of THC psychosis, and this is something that is extremely concerning to us. as the perception of risk or harm goes down among youth. Now, why is the perception of risk or harm going down across youth? Because of legalization. Why would our government legalize something that is harmful to us, is the argument. So although I'm glad to see the decline here, I'm very concerned about potency levels. RX drugs. So just to clarify, this is related to the way we phrase the question, as you remember, is prescription drugs not prescribed to you. So this would be something like Xanax, any anti-anxiety medications, any sort of opiates. And again, these numbers are very low, especially if you look at the drop from 2018 to 2021, where we raised significant concerns and raised our education game significantly about the challenges and the risks related to taking prescription drugs not prescribed to you. So I'm very happy to see that decline. And the vape numbers. So we only started separating vape use out in 2019. That's why you only see two numbers there. Generally speaking, we've seen some pretty dramatic declines. The one I want to point out to you is among 12th graders, from 1 out of 4 kids basically down to 16%. That is statistically a very dramatic jump, but I want to caution everybody because our answer rate is not apples to apples. You know, even in this year, we had a little bit less, but it's on the right trend, so we're going to take it. And this is the one that I really want to congratulate everybody listening to this. And even if you've had nothing to do with the Youth Prevention Coalition, you are part of the community, and this is a community win. It really, really is. After 5 years, was that money well spent from the feds? And I am thrilled to say, yes, I think it has been. Not just the numbers we see here, but in building relationships and helping educate not just the kids, but the families, the parents, the teachers. Across the 5 years, we've had a handful of teachers reach out to us asking about concerns related in their own families. It's just been an amazing reach out and given us the opportunity to have this voice in the community. Whether we get the next 5 years or not, I am hopeful that we will continue this work within the North Reading Police Department and across the coalition. We do have a sustainability plan that was led up by Russ Bailey, I'm sure many of you know, and had a lot of input related to how we could sustain this, even if we don't have a full-time Amy on staff. So this is the overall picture, and this is the big win I wanted to share with everybody. Congratulations. It's a big community win. I can't wait to, you're my first stop on the PR train, but I can't wait to share this with everybody. I'd like to share a couple more slides though. And we talked briefly about this, but this is the perception of risk or harm has changed. And again, you'll see marijuana, just a little bit of a change. What we do is, this is the percentage of students who said they perceive the substance as moderate or a great risk. Marijuana, tobacco, and something's going on in 10th grade. It's very interesting, especially because 10th grade does have health class. So that's something that we'll look into. And, oh, that's my mom calling, sorry. Shut her down. The other thing that we track is the students' perception of risk or harm around vaping products. And for our purposes, just for informational purposes, this is not something we report to the federal level. We do separate non-nicotine products out from regular nicotine products, as well as CBD. And the reason we do that is because it does have a different addictive nature. However, we've learned that a lot of students who think they are vaping non-nicotine are in fact getting nicotine. So that's something that we'll continue to look at. Okay, winding down, this is the last slide, and this is something that we did start seeing a change in, where you'll see the most popular from 2021 versus 20 locations. This is where students report using substances. Again, number one place is obviously out of school, but this is the first year we did start seeing people admit to using things in school. We also learned that the number one source of substances or substances that young people are accessing is from an older sibling or family member. So an example of that would be your 21-year-old sister came home from college and you asked her to buy a 6-pack for you. This is the number one source, and so it's not surprising that the majority of use happens out of school and at somebody else's house where they're not supervised. And I think that might be it. I'm going to open it up for questions. Sorry, I did give you national data. Sorry about that. So we do compare North Reading against national data. Nationally, they only collect information for 8th, 10th, and 12th grade. We use it against the Monitoring the Future study, and it's by the University of Michigan. So this is 2020 numbers versus our 2021. Green is where we are better than the national average, and orange is where it's a real close race, and red is where we perform worse than the national average. I think there's other drugs separated. Yeah, thank you. So I will open it to questions.
Amy, comments, questions? I'll begin, Amy, to thank you for your hard work on this. I think my concern on this is, of course, what does this really show? Because I worry that access to things was so limited in the last year that, I don't know. I mean, I also wonder if, I think there's been lots of reports on, alcohol use among parents probably being higher. The students have been home seeing their parents do it, and so I wonder what that long-term means. But again, we can only evaluate what we can evaluate, but I hope it's a positive trend that stays, and it's not just solely related to access, but I fear that access has a lot to do with it. I don't know.
Access and attitudes, and unfortunately, this has left us with a lot more questions. To your point, you're speaking about just one point being access, but attitudes, behaviors, what they see, as you said, the parents doing at home. One of the questions is, would your parents be upset if they found out you were using fill in the blank substance? And, changes in that can be tracked over time. Parental attitudes about marijuana and alcohol specifically, I can tell you, are relatively casual compared to national data in North Reading. So, the perception of it being is, as long as my kid doesn't drive home, as long as my kid gives up the keys, then it's safe for them to use. I did it as a kid, so what's the big deal? And that is something that we're going to continue to track in the next 5 years to collect more in-depth data. And it might involve some focus groups, some parent surveys, things like that, because we do hear that anecdotally. We do hear it at the police station. I'm fine. My kid gave up the keys, so what's the big deal? Those are all things that are concerning.
And the only other comment that I would have is, I think North Reading is very fortunate to have you. I think there's been lots of discussion about, trying to look at, within police departments, getting people that are focused on substance abuse. It would be great if the grant can be funded. I also know from, discussions with, a finance planning team and going to select board meetings, that there is a lot of desire to, keep you around here no matter what. And I do hope that regardless of what happens with the grant, that we're able to, sustain this program. I think that this is something that, especially because like in the schools, we're really looking at when everybody comes back, what are the gaps between, have these gaps between the kids that are getting it and the kids that are having challenges, have they grown? And I just worry that, if things look like a downward slope and people see that they sort of ease off on it, but we could see a huge rebound. That'd be my concern. And so I do hope that we can find, ideally, that we can get some federal grant money for it, but either way that we continue to support your efforts. So thank you.
Thank you. And I will just mention too, that next year, thank you to the elementary principals and Cynthia Cohen being the facilitator and Mrs. Imbriano, that will be swimming further upstream for upstream prevention and getting into 5th grade starting in the fall. So we're thrilled about starting that upstream prevention even earlier. I think that's so important to the earlier the better, within reason and age appropriateness. And the other thing I'll mention, just because you mentioned support at the police station, and let me use this as a plug for anybody who might be listening at home, watching the video. If you know of anybody that needs any help with substance abuse or mental health, we have a full-time mental health clinician at the police department. No questions asked. She will connect you to resources. Her name is Laura Miranda. She's free. She'll talk to you about, matching your insurance with treatment, whatever you need. And it's all confidential. So reach out to me and I'll connect you, or reach out to her directly from the police department. And we're going to continue to promote her across the community as a great resource for any age.
comments, questions, Dr. Daly?
Just say, thank you again for presenting tonight, and thank you for all that you do for us. Amy's a big part of my parent advisory committee. She's on so many different groups across the district, and has been a great partner and friend to the schools and supporter of our kids for so many years. So thank you for all that you do, Amy.
Thank you. It's absolutely my pleasure. I look forward to, supporting the parent groups financially too with some grant money moving forward to get some speakers that they really want to see in there. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Amy. Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Okay. Dr. McKay, you're up to the Yale University study.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You can.
All right. I've had some problems with the speaker on this one. It's a new computer, so I'm hopeful that I figured the problems out. Again, thank you for having me tonight. Amy's always a tough person to follow. She does so well, but I must say those little school Labradors were amazing. Where else can you throw in a Van Halen song? The Nikes. I mean, that was so much fun to watch. So that's just some great work that I got to see from another school. So definitely going to take some ideas from that and bring it over to the hood for sure. That was excellent. So tonight I'm here to talk a little bit about a Yale research study that I'd like to participate in. And the origins of it are, as we start to transition back from not being in school, and I'm starting to reflect a lot on the social emotional well-being of everyone. And then I always have to fade back to my own drive to always have a data point. So when we make decisions, we use data-driven decision-making, and we really use to try to find, why are we doing what we're doing? What data point is pointing towards what we're doing? So I really want to start to, tear out instruction. I really want to start reflecting on our growth opportunities for social emotional learning. So we have a lot of great things in place, but we really haven't been measuring them to the degree to which I'd like. So as I started to conduct some research with Dr. Mansfield on this and try to better our practice, I came across this student emotion regulation assessment study that Yale University is conducting. And their timeline is that they need to close, and Patrick, I'll finish on this slide. This slide's good. That they need to close out by June 1st. So basically what this is the assessment is the SERA, and it measures 16 age appropriate, it presents 16 age appropriate vignettes. There's two versions. There's an elementary version, and then there's a 6 through 12 version. Obviously, we'd be doing up through the grade 5. Each vignette, students go through. There's one on the next slide, I believe, Dr. Daly. There's an example. So this one is the primary school one. That first picture, it says Dylan and his friends are deciding what game to play at recess. The next picture is Dylan has a lot of ideas for the games he would like to play, but his friends ignore his ideas and pick a game that he doesn't want to play. Dylan is feeling angry. And then it asks 4 questions and asks how he would respond. And they would do that 16 times. And then that data would be used to generate some reports that we're going to see as we go through. So the reports would measure these 8 areas. So the 8 areas that that are measured by the SERA are avoidance and escape, distraction, emotional support seeking, experiencing the emotion, problem solving, reappraisal, rumination, and somatic relaxation. And then each one of those is coded on how the student would respond. So if you go forward to the next slide, there are reports. So obviously this is, they're trying to calibrate their data. This is a research study to really finalize this report at Yale University. And they are not sharing individual student data, which is, really not what I'm looking for at this point. They're more sharing aggregated data on the emotional regulation strategies that students use in those hypothetical situations for a school level and grade level. I'm definitely, so on the next slide is a sample of the school-wide report. As the leader of the school, I'm very interested in that. I'm more interested on the next report, the grade level reports. So then this would enable me to really target some instruction. So if we looked at a whole school report and there was a pattern of behavior or a pattern of a strength or a weakness, that would be super interesting to me as that person who really loves to look at data. But this slide becomes important for me for programmatic planning. So basically what I've been working with Dr. Mansfield on is how do we target instruction to grade levels on specific coping skills? And this will give me the data that I've been looking for a few years to really target what we're doing rather than just randomly assigning a social emotional learning lesson. So if we go through like our open circle and we do an open circle, we typically follow right through the book in order as opposed to really targeting. When we target an instructional lesson from open circle, we do it in response to an event. And that's that reactive piece that I'm not really always a fan of. I'm like more of that proactive approach. This will enable me to get the data and be more proactive with my instructional practices. Next slide. So I kind of already talked a little bit about like that data-driven decision-making model that we always have. So we need a data point. We really need to look at data to make decisions. We really lack the data in this domain. This assessment would give us the data for us to implement instructional practices. I'd like to do that this year, so that'll enable me to plan over the summer to start for the next school year. And that'll allow me to inform my practice. Next slide. Again, so this is a computer-based assessment. It's grades 1 through 5. There is a parent notification on the left-hand side. It's just basically, this has been approved by the Yale University Institution Review Board. No harm to any students. We're just collecting data, and we're providing your school with the data to, use to improve what they do. And then there's an opt-out that parents can choose to opt out their child. So that's kind of what we really wanted to do at the Hood School. So I wanted to share that with you tonight, and I appreciate the time and just want to open up to any questions.
Diana.
Mr. McKay, I think you said this, but I just didn't know if you could repeat it if you did. You're only looking at it in aggregate, right? You would never drill down to the individual student level?
So that is correct. We're going to look at whole school first. I'm really not super interested in whole school unless there's a pattern of behavior within the whole school. Then that would be like something I'd really like pique my interest. But, for instructional programming planning, it would be grade level. Definitely coming back from a pandemic has caused me to reflect a lot on how I've always looked at how students interact at recess and really try to diagnose problems. This would actually give me some really concrete data as to try to figure out why a certain thing may become a certain thing with a certain grade level. So just grade level data.
Okay, thank you.
I was just wondering if it would be a continual thing that you're going to do year from year, or is it a kind of one and done?
So I've actually spent a lot of time trying to, how do we respond to a given situation? And like, how does the social emotional learning curriculum that we have in place kind of really dovetail into those responses? So one of the book studies that I'm hoping to do over the summer is Permission to Feel by Mark Brackett, and he's out of Yale University as well. So I'm wondering how much correlation there is between the data that we're receiving in the study to the interventions and strategies that are offered in this book. So the data collection be a one-time thing for this year. If they were to ask to do it again and we found it, definitely beneficial, then I would talk to Dr. Daly and seek approval again. But this would be a one-time shot for now, just to kind of really hone in our instruction for, returning to school next year.
So, Dr. McKay, the only thing I'll say, there's a lot of discussion last few weeks about the role of the school committee. All I can say is, reading this, I didn't follow most of this. And I'll be very honest with you. I appreciate having people that look at this because that's not how I think, and I appreciate having somebody that wants to get this data and look at how they can put this into, actionable items, because it's not how I think, and I appreciate that we have people in this district that are looking at, how to educate our children in so many different ways, because, I wouldn't begin to know how to do this. And so I just, again, want to appreciate that you are, trying to get this data and trying to use it meaningfully, because it's just not how I think. And, I would love to come up with some smart questions to ask, but I couldn't. Dr. Daly?
Yeah, before we decide, I just want to say thank you to Dr. McKay for this very thorough presentation. We had, the Superintendent's Association had Dr. Brackett present earlier this year, and we all participated. Many of us have read the book or taken the course, and it's a great topic, and the mood meters and all those things we see throughout the middle school. So different schools are using different aspects of this, but I was so excited when he brought this to my attention as something that he had gained some interest in. I think this could be something that will have a lot of interest across the district, and we'll see the results there. So it's something that, I think if this works well, we probably could explore in the future if that does extrapolate for next year. So very good.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me tonight. And I do appreciate you squeezing me in. I know that timeline is tight, and I felt that if we missed this opportunity, it'd be one of those things that I'd regret that we didn't really take that on this year. So thank you again for having me.
So do we have to vote for, yeah?
Have a vote. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the administration of the Yale University study at the school this year.
I'm so moved.
A second?
Okay, any more discussion? It's the second. Yeah, this is just where I defer to the educators and the administrators that we have. I think, we trust your judgment on these things. This is not, anything that I know about. So I think your past performance really just, we have faith in the way that you handle things. So.
Scott, can I ask one more question?
Yeah, sure. Diana?
Is there a reason why we're not looking at doing it at the other elementary schools as well?
I can kind of answer that. So this came quick down the highway. This came from me doing some research. I ended up connecting with Meredith from Yale. Cynthia Conant did participate in one of the meetings with us, and we definitely did say that this would be a benefit across schools. We actually spent more time talking about like the linear, the middle school and the high school, and then our timeline just became very tight. And then the Meredith's timeline from Yale, it just didn't allow us the opportunity to spend any time moving it forward. I've talked to both of the elementary school principals about this in our elementary principal meetings. They're definitely interested. We're all at different places with different things. So it might be one of those things that it's great to start it at the hood and then spread it, much like we had talked about with those maker spaces earlier today. And then I definitely have connected a lot more so with Kathy O'Connell on this. And she's definitely very excited to do it. I'm actually sharing this presentation with her tomorrow, and that would be the next step for me, just to kind of like work with her on it, but also share it with the other elementary principals. So it's definitely, if we had more time, it would have been more spread across the schools as opposed to just the hood, but we really got in late on the opportunity.
Yeah, you could consider it a pilot.
Yeah, that's kind of how we're going to look at it. And if it works out really well, then we will. And if it doesn't, then we'll deal accordingly as well, too.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion by Rich and a second by Chris. We'll do a roll call vote. Rich?
Aye.
Chris? Aye. Diana?
Aye.
Janine?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Passes 5-0. Have your approval, Dr. McKay.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank you very much.
Much appreciated. I'll fill you in on the results.
Excellent.
Thank you, Glenn.
Take care, Dr. Bailey. Thank you.
We lose everybody watching that, basically. So I think we'll go back to the top just to get the update on in-person learning or the in-person return to school. In case there are people that are still tuning in for that. Dr. Daly?
Sure. Just as an update, a few things. I sent out some correspondence today about an opportunity for student vaccination clinics. These are completely optional. They're after school, but they are available for anyone who wants them. I'm actually hearing, when I met with the student reps today, all 4 of them had all been vaccinated, which is exciting. So we're hearing there's a good number of students at the high school that are involved, but this is just an additional opportunity for folks that want to take advantage. It'll be run by the town in cooperation with the local pharmacy. Mr. Bracey is very helpful to bring that forward. Very quickly, we kind of turn this around, and we will have some of our school nurses assisting as well. So that's, familiar face down there as well. So yes, sir.
How many slots will be available total?
I believe it's like 400 per night. So we're going to far exceed the need, is my understanding. I think there's 15 appointments per time slot. So we're going to have some large tents down there at the Batchelder School.
Pretty much everyone that wants it will be able to get it.
I would imagine so, yeah, because like I said, some people have already been doing it outside. So it's only 12 and up, the Pfizer vaccine. But I think that will be good. So just to be very clear, again, it's not anything we're requiring in school. It's not that at all. We got a few parents saying we don't want our children to receive it. That's not what this is. This is just an opportunity for those that want to take part.
I think it's a great thing to provide the access to people if they want to do it. So excellent.
Yeah, I think only maybe some people concerned with promotion of it in school, like almost shaming if, you know, the parents want to make the choice and they just want to make sure there's no promotion of it to children, especially the younger ages, like down to like 12 and 13 in school. So I wouldn't assume that was the case, but figured I would just mention that.
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely an opportunity, and I know there's going to be a lot of questions about this. I'll be honest with you, I haven't heard one way or the other about any kind of requirement. I know some districts have made a decision to move that way. My recommendation would be that we await to see, what coming out from the state. I mean, if the state makes a requirement, as they did with the flu shot, which they then pulled back at the 11th hour, we would have to follow according to that. But at this time, I would recommend, I think the basic message is, from the governor's office is trying to get as many people as vaccinated as possible, bring our numbers down, and that's what we're seeing, which brings us to, I think, our second topic of the night, which is the, please, yeah.
Just to follow up real quick.
Yeah.
Based on what Diana was asking, and I didn't quite hear the answer to this, but are you going to be communicating about this with students directly or just through the parents?
We did communicate to high school students directly today, just so they're aware. And the information was that this was out and that they need to talk to their parents if they're interested.
But as I understand your question, the concern is that if you're quote unquote promoting it to students, that there might be some kind of a chance for people to feel uncomfortable to decide not to.
Yeah. I think that's going to exist whether it's this clinic or any clinic, right? It's just the concept of, is it okay to not be vaccinated? And that's certainly a discussion with adults too, right? So, but we are going to support, the Board of Health absolutely wants everyone vaccinated, and that's why we're trying to help provide more opportunities for it, so.
Yeah, but the way it's rolling out, it's not going to be that like the whole 7th grade class is going down right now. We get the vaccine.
Nope, it's got nothing to do with school. It's just time slots after school. It happens to be at the school, and it's definitely targeted towards our community to make sure they have opportunity.
Yeah.
So that's what it is, yeah.
So for that, I wouldn't be as concerned, but I hear the reasoning, but because it's after school, and it's not like, everybody that doesn't want to do it, stay here, and we're all going to go down otherwise.
Right.
I don't.
Yep, that's why we definitely went with the after school, the 3 to 7 windows. The second dose would also be available, and what they said was anyone who received a first dose from anywhere could sign up for their second dose through our local offering as well. So if you had to drive a bit for your first one, you could now do the local for the second. So that's another opportunity. So, and we'll see what the numbers allow. So I think there's a lot more. It seems to have a lot more slots than when we did the flu shots. Those were much tighter and a little bit smaller scope. So this should certainly meet everyone's need. The second item that's related is that, it just came out today. We had no advance notice of some of these changes, but the governor did open up a lot of different requirements. So Department of Ed quickly followed with some guidance. The main impact would be mask wearing outside. So during recess, physical education classes, and outside learning, students no longer need to wear masks. It's still being recommended that adults wear masks outside if they're not able to physically distance. And we need some clarification around what that means, 3 foot, 6 foot, whatever that means. Any adults that work in a school, yeah. Students and staff at this time are still required to wear a mask indoors. the physical sharing of equipment. So right now, we can't play activities in recess or phys ed class where you bounce a ball from one person to another. The phys ed teachers have been so creative in coming up with ways to do this and using, playing highlight or something where you're throwing the ball and you're not actually touching the ball itself. So some of those restrictions will be relaxed. Some of the cleaning restrictions are more about the touch points as opposed to every single desk, every single surface. So some of these things, it's not going to be necessarily a light switch. Tomorrow will be very different. We're going to ease into some of them, but you may start to see students outside during recess without the mask, which I think a lot of folks, students, staff, and families are going to be very happy about. I did send out a note, though, because there are people on the other side, people who, were reluctant to send their children back at all, and now that they are coming back and realizing that, students aren't going to have masks on, it might be a little bit challenging, but students would have the option to continue to wear their masks if they choose. We're not going to tell them they have to, take the mask off either. So I think, they can make that choice for themselves, certainly through the rest of the school year, unless we get other guidance otherwise. But I don't see any reason why that couldn't continue. And as you can imagine, the events for seniors, we had, the second this came out, I was standing with Mr. LaPrette, and we had a, senior representative saying, well, what about prom? And how does this impact, who can go to prom? And how many numbers? And what about this event? What about that event? So it's certainly going to have an impact on a lot of the things that we're planning. And so there's additional conversations that we need to have with the Board of Health, with the administration, with the facilities that we're using. But this does certainly open up a lot. I mean, from what I'm hearing, Fenway Park and TD Garden are back to full capacity after the end of this month. So that's a definite major step forward. It's good news, and as I mentioned in my note, I have to trust that the team of doctors that have been advising the governor all year are basing this on data, basing this on the most current science, and so it's going to be hard for us to trust that we can move forward with this, but all indicators are that we can see this as a positive sign moving in the right direction. It certainly helps for me to reframe what the fall will look like if we're able to make these adjustments in the spring. So I know that I've heard from some families and parents that are concerned about mask wearing and the like, and I think that this is certainly a move in the right direction for those families that are concerned.
Just one question, one comment. And the question, just to be very clear, so, and I know some of this will be rolled out, but in terms of recess and, physical education that's outside, the school district's okay with implementing it right away, right? There's not any other discussions that have to happen or anything like that?
That's my feeling, is it could happen as soon as tomorrow.
And just my comment, which is funny because my son, I was literally walking back from school with him and I was reading some of it to him, and I thought he was going to be super excited about the mask, and he was like, wait, do we get balls back at recess now?
Yeah.
And that was literally his number one thing was like,
True.
do we get a ball back at recess now? And I'm like, well, I don't know that answer actually.
Yeah, I think it would be. So again, I would say it could happen as soon as tomorrow. I think we need to leave some of that up to the individual teachers and principals to make sure it's going to roll out safely. But certainly it is able to begin. So would have been great to have a little more notice, a little more planning, but we're very used to this. I believe there's a call on Wednesday about the order that goes into effect tomorrow that we heard about today. So that's sort of the order that we've been addressing things all year. So
That was what I was going to ask about the sport.
yeah.
For the sport teams, are you going to allow them to take their masks off?
Yeah, we have. I believe we still need a little clarification around that because the youth activities are unmasked. It's not 100% clear about the high school sports and activities. The EEA guidance has not been updated yet. I would imagine they're kind of shuffling right now to try to make those adjustments. It's certainly trending in that direction. So I would assume that the students today probably wore masks as they have been, but that probably will start to shift and change a little bit. So it's nice outside. I think people are getting comfortable and they're able to. Yeah, it's warm but it's also, as more folks are getting vaccinated or things are happening and things are opening up, I think it's a very good sign. So
Do we have limitations on attendance at sporting events outside right now or not?
we do not. We have had we're recommending for people, and we still do have a requirement for contact tracing. So we're still having people fill out a form, and that's keeping the numbers down. Essentially, you have a limitation based on maintaining 6 foot. So we're trying to maintain the overall numbers by limiting groups of 4. But we haven't received any issues with that process as far as complaints that not enough people are getting in to see. We're hosting a marching band competition and indoor concert and our play is going to open up as well. So right now we have a process for those number of adults. Now I'm sure there'll be questions. That's another question about marching band and band and chorus, what that looks like when it's outdoors, and masks, because that is a little different because they're still blowing or singing. So I'm sure there'll still be additional questions that I'm going to get over the next few days, but for the most part, we wanted to get that information out right away to families, and I think we're moving in the right direction as a Commonwealth.
I know we're talking Fine Arts Subcommittee meeting on Wednesday, I'm sure. Regardless of whether we have more clarity or not.
I can guarantee that they will have the latest data from across the country. They're so in tune with that, Miss Lister and Miss Kane. Mr. Owens has already emailed me about some questions as well. So they've done a great job all year of keeping kids learning, playing their instruments, singing, and doing everything safely outdoors, even when it was very cold out. And we're going to move forward with shows for families and parents. And the more, as many folks as we can safely fit inside, we will. And they've always said, we're able to do it for sports. We need to be able to do it for performing arts, and we've insisted the same. There still appears to be some different standards for indoor versus outdoor activities, and that accounts for that difference. So,
and I would just call out, it's been challenging for everybody, but the physical education and the performing arts teachers they've had a hard time this year, and they put a lot into it. I mean, I know my son is doing course after school just because they can't accommodate it during school, and they're putting in extra hours after school that they wouldn't have been doing otherwise, and it really is challenging. And so again, everybody has hardships this year, but really those individuals have had I think some of the hardest times. I appreciate all the work that they've done.
The creativity, when I walk by the middle school cafeteria with all their individual tables that they brought in for lunch, and that's the phys ed space, and they had to go elsewhere, but on rainy days they're in there, and the creative things they've come up with some of the balloon volleyball over a table. I mean, they just really, I don't know, you've probably seen some of them, Michael, just when you walk by, it's like, and you ask them it's things that they've adapted or come up with, and the kids are still, coming up with games, using strategies, doing all, working on the standards just in a creative way. So that necessity being the mother of invention is very true with our educators here and our students. Just quickly on the summer programs, Mr. Clean has been working very hard to develop programs for our students who are most at need and at risk for this year. And so there'll be more information coming out soon about some acceleration academies later in the summer. We are going to, as I mentioned, I believe here, but I'll just say it again, the pool testing program will continue. And I have received some questions from folks, if my child's vaccinated, do I need to continue with pool testing? And we would still continue the pool testing with staff and students for those that are interested. Just the state and the Department of Health still recommends that you continue with pool testing as well, just to safely identify positives. Our case counts are way down, if you've seen, from where they were last month. We've got less than 5 right now for the whole month of May, which is great, versus, I believe, 38 back in April. So that's, and the staff counts are even further down. So, and we've got, we're coming to the end. I've got about 5 or 6 more staff members that I'm aware of. If you remember that they self-identified about getting vaccinated, but we had over 80% of our staff were vaccinated, and there's about 5 or 6 more. My list keeps getting smaller and smaller for the letters that we're sending out. So I think we've had great opportunities, and those that wanted to get vaccinated have been able to do so.
Sorry if you said the letters being sent out.
The letters, yeah, the process we've changed. We're when someone is fully vaccinated, they no longer need to be completing the daily health screener. The staff members, They no longer need to be in a full quarantine if there's someone positive in their classroom. And so there's a few other items such as that. So when they indicate that they're fully vaccinated, they get a letter from us that indicates that they are waived from those requirements. And so that was our way of soliciting some input about that. So I think there's some people that may be vaccinated that didn't want to complete the form. There may be some that just haven't done it, but overall, as I said, the numbers are very high, and I'm highly confident that those that wanted to or were able to get so were able to find the opportunity. We were worried about that at one point, and I think that we talked about the sort of the climate or the way people felt, the anxiety levels. That's come way down, and I feel like it's been very good. We're not quite back to normal, but it's feeling a lot closer.
Very much. Mentioned the marketing of the way you drafted it today, and more at the end. So.
Yeah, I know.
keep us waiting. I think we'll go just jumping around a little bit. I'm trying to put anything that people might be listening to first. Why don't we go to school choice vote right now?
Sure.
And then we can do the subcommittee assignments, the meeting schedule, and all the other things. So you want to lead us in the discussion of the school choice vote?
Sure. This is an annual discussion that we have. I just want to read from the item here. It's very well written. Oh.
And again, I appreciate you sending over the data to us to kind of look through.
Sure. So school choice is it's a hearing. We have to have a hearing on this decision. So it's sort of assumed that we are a school choice district, but we have a hearing every year to review whether we would be school choice for the following year. By June 1st of every year, we have to make that decision about which way to go. And this is about opening up the district so that people who are not residents of North Reading would be able to attend. This is not, as some think, this is not the same as being a participating in a Metco program or something like that. This is a very different conversation. And so this is what we provided you tonight is some of the reasons why historically we have not been a district. And a lot of this is financial. It's driven by space. It's driven by enrollment. It's driven by, how much room we have in our schools. And so I don't know if there were any questions about the document that was shared with you.
Really have any. I think my only comment is, well, I think we all care about education. We also are elected positions to look out for the best education we can for the students in North Reading. And unfortunately, sometimes the general thoughts and our specific duties sometimes get flipped as well. And so I think that's sort of how I look at it. Like we have to look at it from the lens of what's best for North Reading. Oh wait, Cynthia's saying we need to go into public hearing for this.
You do.
Oh, we do. So
Yeah.
we'll do that one first. So I have a motion to go into public hearing. Thank you, Cindy.
I move that we go into open the public hearing on the school choice issue.
I second. Okay, we'll take a vote on that. Rich?
Aye.
Chris? Aye. Diana?
Aye.
Denise?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Thank you, Cindy. So just to kind of continue, I think our role as school committee members for North Reading means that we have to look at what's in the best interest of the students in our district, and unfortunately, sometimes that does conflict with, the broader ideas of education. And so I think, looking at it through that role, I think that the way that school choice works right now is challenging, and a lot of our classes are at the limit where adding even one or two students into it might mean that we have to add a whole other section, or we're, not meeting the goals of our school committee established goals of class sizes. So I think that's a challenge that I see.
It's Rich. I would just say that if this program were part of a more coordinated effort to change education outcomes in the state, I think that'd be a different story. It just seems like such a piecemeal thing right now. I'm not sure there's value attained that's worth the cost to North Reading. So, even though I suppose I support the goals that underlie the that underlie this issue, just such a piecemeal approach. I feel like we need to support it this time.
Okay. More discussion, public comments on this, that I see. We got public comments?
Thanks, Cindy.
Cindy, do you have your hand raised? I think that probably was before and I didn't see it. She was probably just yelling at me because she's a great recording secretary and better than I am as chair. So, okay, so if no more comments, I'll entertain a motion on the school choice vote, which somebody can read from the packet. I'll entertain a motion to not participate in school choice because the program, as it is presently constructed, ensures that the needs of some children of the Commonwealth cannot be met.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion on this? We will do a roll call vote. Jamie?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
Diana?
Aye.
Chris? Aye. And then I as well, passes 5-0. Thank you
Move
very
that
much.
we exit the public hearing.
Very much. So the next one. Can I have a second?
Second that.
Okay. Rich?
Aye.
Janine?
Aye.
Diana?
Aye.
Chris? Aye. And then I as well. Out of public hearing. Okay.
So settle down, public. No more talking.
There we go. It's odd because we're willing to hear the public on anything.
Right.
On everything, so. Okay, so.
To be fair, it's only because public hearing someone says anything that we're willing to hear them.
Yeah. Okay, so why don't we go back to the subcommittee assignments? We all have the list of where we're at this time. Excuse me. We have to do separate motions on each appointment, or can we just kind of decide it and then do one? Cindy, I don't know if that works for you or not, if we just decide who it is and then sort of fill that out and then do one motion. That's just as we're doing separate roll calls on each one.
She says that's great.
That's okay. So why don't we look through the subcommittee assignments right now and just see what people think. Well, we'll just go through it and, we'll make a motion afterwards, or we'll just have a conversation about where we're at right now. The Secondary School Building Committee, I think that is both Janine and me now, right?
I've been on it.
That's what I'm on now, correct, Dr. Daly?
Correct.
I think.
Well, not officially. That's why you're not on there yet, listed. Because it has to be named by the select board.
Okay. But
we didn't do that, and so then there's some reasons for that, why it hasn't happened. But I think it would just move. I think you could name both to it on our end. Yeah.
That's what we had decided beforehand, but I think
Yeah.
that I would keep that the same, and we won't change that if everyone's okay with that. Policy Subcommittee. I don't know what people's thoughts are this year. Well, I know. Why don't we go to? I'm going to just jump out of, I know that CIPC, Diana did that for 3 years. And I know that she's looking to try some different things this year. I don't know if anybody has an interest to participate in CIPC in particular. They usually meet at what time?
Around 4 or 4:30. It's usually on, Wednesdays or Thursdays.
Part of that one. You just because I know you know some of the players, but.
Well, it is for the length of your term, and my term is up next year, so I don't know if you have to be doing it again next year if I don't be up or.
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
This guy's still an argument, Jenny.
It's a perfect way to do somebody for only 1 year. Then you're only committed for 1 year.
No, it might, if you have the time, it's also a time constraint, but where you're on the master community program, whatever you call it, thing, it kind of goes hand in hand a little bit with that, because you get to know all that's going on around the town. But I mean, I'll take it on for a year if no one else has the desire to.
I have a little bit of interest in it, but I also feel like I'm finding planning and some of the other things, like I'm doing a lot, and I don't want to monopolize things either. And I feel like, I think it's some of the same characters.
Yes, it is, very much so.
In there, so it wouldn't be a bad idea to have something in there.
Yeah, I mean, I also would be happy to do it. Definitely agree, take it off Diana's plate for now 3 years. You know, this 3-year appointment thing is a little weird. Not that I object to doing it for 3 years, but, you know, who knows what people are gonna think 2 years from now.
Well, I think it's just more for ease of ability that they don't have, you know, people changing seats all the time, more so than anything, but.
I mean, it is kind of a long-term view of things, right? You're not just thinking about this coming decision a couple of years out, so I sort of understand.
It actually ended up being a little bit more difficult for me because I ended up having a lot of meetings done, and so I think.
Yeah, a lot depends on something like that, like, does the remote thing really stay in place? Just have it remotely on times when it's really coming from Boston.
I also think that Janine has skill set. For sure. You know, you participate with a lot of the same people on school building projects and have the connections, and they like you more than anyway, so. Well, that was together. So, if you're open to it, I mean,
I can definitely take it on.
I don't want to like burden you with it, but that's, I mean, I thought that, you know, you or Rich, I thought, but I think if Rich is going to be like Sharon doing, and the planning team just kind of balance out with it. You're okay with that one. Now the question is, what assignment do you like to lead that you have right now that you want to try to plan on that?
Right. Oh, I don't.
The Yankee swap.
Exactly.
I like everything that I'm on, so I'm easy on that.
Let's kind of just keep going down there. So policy subcommittee right now is Chris and Janine.
Chris, you've been on 2 years now. You deserve a break today.
So I'll put it this way. I enjoy it. If somebody else is anxious to opt into it, great. I don't want to keep them out, but I also enjoy it a lot, and I'm not looking to get off of it. So I'll let anybody else who wants to call dibs.
I am not interested in that one at all.
Cool.
Okay, Janine, you like that?
Policy?
Yeah.
Okay, athletic, Diane and Janine.
I would like to stay on the athletic.
Yeah, Janine, you like it?
Unless somebody else wants.
I know, unless somebody wants an opportunity.
I'm fine with it. Evaluation, one that I would be absolutely worst at, so Janine and Chris, do you enjoy that?
So I can say the same thing for this and again for fine arts. Both of them I fully enjoy, but I've also been on for some time now. So anybody that wants them is welcome. And if not, I'm thrilled to do it.
Ditto.
Ditto. Anybody wanna? No? Budget and finance. We actually did have a couple meetings this year.
I'm happy to stay on it. It's actually being productive
Yeah.
and useful.
And again, it's a different view because we do have the finance planning team and we have meetings and discussions there. And sometimes it's a little bit challenging there, but it's just it's another way to get another person into it, you know, that's not always in the finance planning team discussions. And so, and then I feel like I can report back to kind of what comes from the one to the other. Contract review, we haven't been doing that. I don't think we have any contract negotiations that are due next year, correct? So there, fine arts.
Not the big one.
Chris expressed an interest to stay here. Rick, do you like the fine arts?
I do. Again, if anyone wants to put in a claim, I'm happy to listen.
No, I think we're good. NORCAM?
Hey, I'm just getting them to accept me.
You wanna stay at NORCAM?
Yeah.
It's a pretty easy one. It's a decent group of people. Finance planning, we'll stay with the chair, vice chair. In special education, current advisory. And again, I'm happy to stay on it. I don't know if I have any interest in that or not. I plan on those meetings anyway. And I guess to remove the contract negotiation team as non-official committee. Hey, everybody like that? You okay with this?
So should we just, you're run through real quick.
Yeah, why don't we do a motion, one motion, and this is all.
We read everything?
Yep. Wanna do it?
I think so. So I move that committee vote to approve the following subcommittee assignments. Secondary School Building Committee, Janine Imbriano, Scott Buckley. All pending approval by the select board. Policy Subcommittee, Chris Papabasaleo and Janine Imbriano. Athletic Subcommittee, Diana Botwell and Janine Imbriano. Evaluation Subcommittee, Janine Imbriano and Chris Papabasaleo. Budget and Finance Subcommittee, Scott Buckley and Diana Botwell. The Contract Review Subcommittee will remain blank or inactive. Fine Arts Subcommittee, Rich McGowan and Chris Papabasaleo. NORCAM Advisory Board, Rich McGowan. Finance Planning Team, by practice, Scott Buckley and Rich McGowan. Substance Abuse Coalition, Janine and Briano. Special Education Parent Advisory Council, Scott Buckley. Capital Improvements Planning Committee, Janine and Briano.
Yes.
I mean, the skills don't feel balanced. I mean, you've got a lot. Are you sure?
Yeah, because my schedule is very, very flexible during the workday, so I'm fine. And the secondary school building hasn't met since May of 2018, so that's kind of like a non.
I just wanted to offer.
You know what I'm saying?
Just looks a little unbalanced.
If she chooses not to run next year, we'll just swing you that.
Okay. No, I'm happy. Like, if there's one of them that you'd like me to take, I'm happy to. It's just here is unbalanced.
No, it's fine, really. If I thought it was too much, I would say something.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion, we can have a second. Second. Second, any further discussion? The only discussion I would say is, are there any committees that other communities have that we think we need?
That we can then put Janine on?
Janine is on.
That's a great question. I don't have the answer off the top of my head. Probably something we should explore.
We can look at it in the summer as well.
That sounds like that's actually a pretty good topic of conversation to have during our.
Okay. And maybe we can get Janine to do some research for us.
What about a committee to explore other committees?
We can always look later on, but I just know that there's different things that are popping around in other communities, but, we can talk more later on, and we can always add it later on. Okay, so I have a motion by Rich, a second by Chris. No further discussion, or vote. Rich? Aye. Chris? Aye. Diana?
Aye.
Janine? Aye. I'm an aye as well. Thank you, passes 5-0, and I appreciate everybody's willingness to jump into these assignments, because I think that's the one thing that people don't always realize, that, these meetings can be a little bit long, a couple times a month, but a lot of the work happens in these other meetings. So appreciate everybody's hard work. Okay. Now I completely screwed myself up with the schedule, so let me see what else is left. Gonna go up for the
Summer meeting
schedule. So, summer meeting schedule. Dr. Gale, you want to discuss this a bit?
Sure. I had presented two different dates for the topics that need to be shared in July would be the superintendent's goals and the school committee goals. And then we've, in recent years, had an August meeting as well to talk about reopening for the fall. It was suggested for Monday, July 26th at 6:30 p.m. and then August 16th at 6:30 p.m. But I would entertain any ideas or suggestions you have around those dates.
My only thought was the August 16th is past the date that we could do if the state of emergency goes away on June 15th, which it looks like it will. If I'm correct in that, we can remain virtual for 60 days after that. Just worry about vacation schedules and everything, and it might be easier for us and easier for the members of the public that may want to attend, if there are any, whether or not we should consider either moving just the August 16th up, or pushing both of them up a week, and just so that both of them would be in that 60-day period if people need to attend. Because again, I would hate for somebody, because just to remind the committee, if we have to be in full person, the select board has not authorized remote participation for members of even the committee if they can't be here. And we would need the select board to authorize that in order to do that. So then if like somebody is away that day, they can't participate, not to mention the members of the public that may be away. So,
Well,
yeah.
is that the same thing? Could we continue to offer access to the members of the public to listen in and comment? I don't know if there's a restriction on that, as long as it was also open to the public, for personal, personal
Sure, yeah,
attendance.
maybe we could do that in addition.
But the participation of members obviously is sort of subject to whatever the rules.
Yeah, you would have to be there then. So, I mean, I just see some flexibility in, I mean, I think it's literally like a day or two before that.
So if we could do Thursday the 12th first.
Yeah, so even if we did like Thursday the 12th, or if we did, moved everything up 1 week or something.
It doesn't matter to me.
That would be my suggestion,
Available.
perhaps, for other people think like.
Good argument.
I think it's a good argument. I would just suggest, that based on my schedule and Michael's schedule, doing the 26th and holding that one for July would be good, based on our administrative retreat and some other things we're planning those days. But if you wanted to move the August date a little bit earlier, to the 9th maybe, or to,
Would you rather do the 9th or would you rather do the Thursday?
yeah, we haven't really talked about that, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm driving
Not you guys on vacation.
I don't know, but.
Yeah, Michael's unavailable the 9th, so would you, the 12th work, or would you rather go? You could also be excused, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Or you could remote in if you need to as well.
Yeah, that's fine. Go schedule around.
Okay. We're gonna do like the 12th then, and the 9th doesn't work for you for sure. Is August 12th the Thursday then?
Yep.
Yes.
How about we suggest Thursday, August 12th? You know, we can just push that back if we need to. We can always change that date later on, but.
And also, if literally there's nothing going on, we can not have.
Right.
That's happening.
Yeah, I think that meeting has been sort of that way. I think last year there was no way we weren't meeting in August, but,
Yeah, I mean, prior to that, it was typical to do the goals meeting, the goal setting meeting in August.
yes.
I think it makes sense moving that meeting to July, so that August is a potential, not a meeting.
If people are here, we could meet in person. I mean, I will be in New York this summer, but I'll come back a few times, and so I can plan to come back if we're going to be meeting in person. I just want to make sure that we have participation from everybody. If somebody's work schedule or whatever, if somebody's vacation schedule changes, I like the convenience of being able to have people remote it, so we have everybody's voice. So.
And if anybody has the select board on their opinion on allowing remote participation going forward?
Not yet, but I think that's something we can talk about. And I'm curious to see if there'll be any changes, but just like Dr. Daly said, the new guidelines came up today, and he's got a ton of emails and figure I won't start emailing other people yet. I'll wait for some of the guys to come down.
I believe part of the reason why some of the dates are as of this date, as of that date, is because the legislature needs a little time to figure out what they need to change and update as well. So.
And again, I could be wrong on that 60-day thing. I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, I've heard that as well.
For 60 days, we can continue after the ending of that, and so I think we can
go with that now.
Use it to our advantage. Okay, so I guess we need to do this. Okay, we need a vote on scheduling the meeting.
Sure, I move, the list's been here, so I move that we schedule a meeting for Monday, July 26th and Thursday, August 12th.
Second?
Any more discussion? Rich?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Diana?
Aye.
Denise?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well, 5-0, thank you. Okay, we have our minutes. Meeting Brianna hours.
Sure. I'd like to make a motion to accept the executive minute session of May 3rd as written.
Any discussion? Denise?
Aye.
Diana?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Rich? Aye. I'm an aye as well, 5-0.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes of the open session for May 3rd, as written. Second.
Discussion? Denise?
Aye.
Diana?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well, 5-0. Budget update. Connolly, no update at this time?
There is no budget update this evening. Everything is trending the same as last meeting. We just continue to work on really focusing on the fiscal year closeout at this stage. Right now, everything is doing well. I would say the food service programs did close out the month of April with a small profit. It's very good. Even the month of, in normal times, even the month of April can be challenging. So certainly things, as I presented last week, with the closeout of the month of March is trending in the right direction. So that's encouraging.
And continued kudos to the food service team.
Anyone? Good staffing, Dr. Daly?
None at this time.
I think I'm staffing that I want to mention. I only feel able to mention this because Dr. O'Connell shared this in an email to all the parents of the middle school. I know that she had a medical procedure she shared with people, and so I just want to wish her a full and speedy recovery.
We have had the chance to connect, and she's doing very well, so thank you.
Excellent. Bids and donations. Mr. McGowan?
Yes.
That should be a committee assignment as well.
You know, I love doing this, but I'm happy to share it if anybody wants.
You know I can't read names, so I would prefer not to.
I know that too.
I know you do.
I move that the school committee vote to accept with gratitude a donation of $3,500 from the North Reading High School Parent Association to benefit the senior class of 2021 celebration at North Reading High School.
Second?
Discussion. Rich?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Diana?
Aye.
Denise?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. I can say Chris.
You always can.
Are there any others? I don't have to pack it up there.
That's the only
That's the only one.
Okay. Subcommittee updates. CPAC met on May 12th for presentation. It was a story. It was, one of the new presidents who's going to be here at a meeting very soon, I think in June. She put together a nice PowerPoint about her experiences, kind of in specific, references of resources to use, some, stories of her past. But actually, what I thought was really interesting is her daughter is there as well. So one of the questions I asked at the end was sort of how her relationship with, her brother who has special needs, how that is, and how she's helping with the planning going forward for her brother, which is, I thought was very interesting. So I thought I appreciated just in doing that. Do we have any other subcommittees? So upcoming subcommittee meetings, we have Finance Planning Team on May 25th at 8 a.m. Athletic Subcommittee May 19th at 1 p.m. Fine Arts Subcommittee May 19th at 3:30 p.m. Dr. Daly, administrative report.
None at this time.
Correspondence, there's nothing either.
None at this time.
Future business, we do have a meeting at 8:45 a.m. before town meeting. I, reminded people if we can, it'd be great if we can all attend there because I'm worried if there might be some amendments made on the, town meeting floor. So I think it'd be good for us all either if we can make it.
I was thinking, oh, my alarm clock was off that already.
Everybody call Janine, so she can remember like that. We also have a meeting Thursday, June 10th. That's where the CPAC presentation is happening. And Monday, June 21st, school improvement plan. Looking forward to the school improvement plan. Totally. Okay, there's nothing else. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved.
Second?
Okay. Motion by Rich, seconded by Chris.
Other way around.
The other way around.
Oh, wait, motion
Right
by...
back, reverse it.
Okay. Wait, I don't even know.
I motioned.
Chris, and that is me. No, that's right.
Sure,
It's been a long day, okay?
A little punchy over here.
Okay, Chris.
We're
voting, we're voting.
We didn't check for discussion.
We've had the second.
Oh, we already had it.
Any discussion? No.
Aye.
Rich? Aye. Janine?
Aye.
Diana.
Aye.
I'm an aye as well, 5-0. Thank you, we are adjourned.
Bye, everyone.